That's Nancy Guthrie's home in Tucson to visit the memorial. What we do see here is a private security that they hired, two sheriffs from the Pima County Sheriff's Department. And this is a reminder of how we say the victims and their families come first. This is a grieving family that you see here. It's a grieving family. And you're going to see raw emotion because they're outside the home where they grew up with their mother and their father. And this is really tugs at the heartstrings. You know, my heart breaks for any family that goes through something as wicked as this, as not knowing. And there's so many families that are out there that do not know where their loved one is. This is an 84-year-old woman who has health issues and that just vanished out of her own home. Now, there's going to be many people that pick apart the son-in-law as we see them come down the driveway. For those of you here in the chat, I don't want to be that guy. But I have to be for a second here. Who does this guy look like? If you're a true crime fan and you follow cases, Stephen Stearns comes to mind. I'll take the pictures and put them side by side. He reminds me of Stephen Stearns. Let me know if I'm off base on this, on Tommaso. That's Stephen Stearns, a split image right there. I don't know. This is the first time I've seen many pictures of this guy, but this right here, I saw one person in the chat said, you're off base. You're not right. But I mean, look, this is what I looked at real quick, and that's what I saw. I mean, we'll put the side-by-side picture. But yeah, Savannah did not obviously go home, as the media reported, and other outlets were reporting that Savannah Guthrie was going home to be back with her kids in New York. She lives in New York. And the media and many outlets said that she was returning to New York. Here we are Monday. It's a month. Her mom is missing a month. There's Annie, her husband, and Savannah, all with flowers to lay at the beautiful memorial that was started by neighbors and friends outside of Nancy Guthrie's home. It's so sad. It tugs at your heartstrings. But as detectives, as retired detectives, we know we work for the families. We work for the victims. We want to bring justice for the families. This case is no different than any other. The big difference here is Savannah is a media celebrity. She has a big national and international show on NBC in the morning. So because she's a media personality, the media coverage is over the top. And that's how it goes with this. If you don't know by now, then now you know. If this was just me or my family, there would be nobody camped out in front of my home. There would be no media there. The reason that this is why it is what we're seeing is because of Savannah. Yeah, someone in chat said, "Where's the son?" I mean, I don't know. He's obviously he's not there. But that's a good question. It's not a bad question. Blissfulness, blissful essence. Thank you for being a channel member, and thank you for that question, because a lot of people are going to ask, "Where's the son?" We see the Simply Safe security signs. We see security hired by the family. This guy right here is private security. This is a Pima County sheriff. And here is also somebody who looks like also a sheriff. He's got a bulletproof vest on and is out there providing security for the family. Not one person said anything. And kudos to Brian Enton. He got this video and the footage outside of Nancy Guthrie's home. We'll talk about it in a few. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I wasn't going to come live with this, but I thought a lot of people were interested in seeing the movement outside the home. But also News Nation broke a couple of other things, and I'll get into it about the footage of our masked abductor out in front of Nancy Guthrie's home. We'll get into it in a few. I think I got a good friend of mine, Lieutenant. Retired NYPD Lieutenant Joe Cardinale. As soon as he gives me the thumbs up, if he's ready, I'll add him in. I think he's got a new piece of equipment today. Let's see. No? Yes? Okay, he's shaking his head no. Let me add him in just in case. Joe, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How you doing, Ron?
All right, good. It looks good. There's just a little black line at the front of it, of the camera. I don't know what that is, but
I think this is the we're back on the computer one. That's the problem.
Got it. Okay.
We're back on the computer one.
All right.
So that's okay. We'll
No
deal
worries
with this today.
All right. So LT, we saw, I know you were in the green room watching Savannah, her sister. And some people are saying that's not her sister's husband. I believe it is. It looks like Tommaso. I've been following this thing closely, and I do believe that's
Tommaso.
Yeah, that's Annie's husband.
Yeah.
So the three of them out there, people are already saying, "Where's the brother?" Remember we saw her brother make the plea. Maybe this was planned. Maybe it wasn't planned. Maybe they just decided, hey, let's go see mom. I know it is him. And if you followed the Stephen Stearns case, that was the creep over in Florida who murdered his girlfriend's daughter and dumped her in a field. This guy's a split image of him right here. At least this look right here is Stephen Stearns all the way. But, boss, I wanted to go to you real quick as it pertains to how families, they're conceding here that their mom is not coming home after 30 days and how emotional this is, not only for them, but for everybody who's working for them, the complete crew, the FBI, people from the neighborhood and so forth.
Yeah, it's our job as law enforcement to also bring to the family the possibilities that are out there from the beginning of the investigation. That's why you saw a two-pronged approach to this. Kidnapping in the worst case scenario. They had to prepare them saying, listen, this is what we have. We're going to try. We're not saying it's definite yet, but as time went on and they weren't getting the results they wanted, and the the reward was upped and then upped again, and you're still not getting the bites on it, they know it's a very dire situation. So I think in their hearts, and especially the telltale body language and the way they went out and gave the last couple of postings that they had saying, this, we want to celebrate with our mother. When they started saying that, and then they were to the point where they just wanted her back, period. They understand something could have gone wrong, or anything. They understand all this. They still want their mother back to have a proper, send off for her. you prepare them for it. And it's our job as law enforcement to be honest with the families, you know, and it's our job to a degree, because if you're investigating, let's make something clear. If you're investigating something that may tie into the family, you're only going to go so far with
Right.
what you have. That's why you and I and Ed have disagreed with clearing everybody from this. I wouldn't clear anybody. I wouldn't care who it was until the end, because then you could say you systematically ruled out people this way.
Yeah, Lieutenant, I agree wholehearted with you here, because Ed and I have been jumping up and down when Sheriff Nano said, we've remembered that whole plea that he made, leave these people alone, we've cleared them. It was almost like he was defending them. Let us know in the chat how you felt about that statement that Sheriff Nanos made. It actually it really angered me as from a law enforcement perspective, because what if another door opens up in the investigation and now you are investigating, in fact, part of the family? What does that do for a defense attorney? The defense attorney's going to say, oh, well, early on they said our client was they were all cleared up and down, they're squeaky clean. How are you all of a sudden arresting them for the abduction of Nancy? First of all, you don't have any, you have no proof of it. You don't even have her remains. But what I'm saying is that is, and you ran a squad of detectives. That's a bit premature to do that. Can you expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, it's like I said, we really don't want to give the family any false hope, so we're pretty honest with them. But when you're looking at the family dynamics and you're not 100% sure of what went on within the family, you have to go to the family first and start looking at those dynamics. What's going on? Is there any sibling rivalry here? If there's anything going on, you have to address all that. And while you're addressing that, you have to go back and dig deep and see if there were any arguments, about certain things. You and I personally discussed a case that's very close to us from in the past few days for somebody in the NYPD, and we speculated on what that could be, and that's what you have to do. You have to leave everything on the table until it's time to clear the table and prepare for trial and do whatever you have to do. But if there is, say, one person, two people, maybe even three people out there, and I would hope that there is more than one person involved here, all right, that you would go out there and maybe something happens to one individual and they're watching all this going on. They know they're in no rush to get in there unless something, is coming up for them. And they want to go, if they had a defense attorney, this is just a supposition here. If they had a defense attorney and that defense attorney was watching all this going on, that defense attorney is sitting there writing every single thing down that he or she is going to challenge down the line.
Yeah, it's a guarantee. Let's take a look. This is some AP coverage of neighbors and friends of the family of Nancy Guthrie outside the home. I believe this was yesterday during the day. The memorial is growing. The flowers. Let's let Nancy come home. Hold on to hope. And let's just take a look. I didn't get a chance to review this because I just got home from Sloan Kettering, and I saw the Brian Enton updated something. I sent him a text. He said, yeah, Ron, you could use it. No problem. So I wanted to play what he captured as well. But this is from the AP yesterday.
Yeah, we did. Yes, it did. Yeah.
You can hear the generators. That's from the news reporters that are across the street.
I live a few neighborhoods down, and it's just scary, and I just really hope she's able to come back, and I hope she's okay.
So this appears to be, a young girl, and probably under maybe 9 or 10. She said, I live a couple of neighborhoods down, and I really hope that they can find her and bring her home. It's very heartbreaking to see just a young little girl out there being interviewed by the news outside of Nancy Guthrie's home. But it goes to show you how this community is affected, as we talked about, Joe. Lieutenant, the neighbors and the neighboring people around are living in fear. This little girl knows that this woman, this 84-year-old grandma, was vanished, disappeared from her home, from out of her bed, arguably, for all we know. And people are afraid. There's no way to sidestep that, right, Lieutenant?
Yeah, I mean, this and the sheriff really should have been putting his efforts out there, calming the residents down around the area, assuring them that they're doing everything that they can, not to leave tidbits that this may be this or be that. His job should have been the front line, the neighborhood. All right, go out there and say, hey, listen, everybody, this is what's going on. And let the FBI and the lead detective and the detective supervisor go out there and do the job they have to do. But, as we saw, there's so many different things over here. And he even said, I don't care if they Monday morning quarterback me. He knew that because it was already done.
Right.
He said, I don't care if they do that to me. Well, you opened up Pandora's box and you got what you wish for. Everybody's Monday morning quarterbacking you. It's not just with you and Ed. It's everybody out there that just sees something wrong with the way it was done. And it's not the lower ranks or, the nuts and bolts of this department, which is the boots on the ground. It's certain supervisors decide to do certain things, and you can see that affects an investigation.
Yeah, it affects it a lot because the orders come in a small to medium sized department, and even our department, the police department, NYPD. You would get it from higher ranks, but the ranks it goes right up to the top. In some of these high profile cases, the PC is calling some of the shots, and then it just dribbles down through department channels. But in a smaller department like this, you bet your bottom dollar. I have all of these things that we have written out from our audience. Sheriff Nanos has a big ego. He's spiteful. He micromanages. Anybody that micromanages always has to have their hand in everything. And if you don't know what you're doing and you have your hand in something like this, you could take somebody like an Ed Wallace and really handcuff them. And I believe that was what the case is. Like, he talked about how great his homicide squad is. Meanwhile, half of them are under 5 years, 3 to 5 year wonders. They're not investigating a lot of homicides because 76 occurred in that whole entire county in 6 years. 76. That's not a.
But you have to be prepared. You have to be prepared to do that, because at any moment something can jump off, as we saw here. You never expect on a national level like this, international level, let's put it that way.
Right.
But it did happen. So you have to be prepared to investigate. Regardless of the celebrity status of anybody, you have to be prepared to jump in and investigate this as a homicide squad, and go in there and say, this is what's going on. They didn't automatically go to homicide. That. The
Right.
investigation progressed as the severity of the evidence came in, and it started leading to areas, and we have to be prepared for what if. And Ron, you hit it on the head. I've been involved in so many cases where the PC does get involved.
Right.
All right. And the PC, a lot of the PCs we had, like, Kelly and like Bratton, and you had, police commissioners that came up through the ranks and knew the job, and they knew, let the squad do their work. Let me hear from this. And they would actually have a closed door with the chief of detectives. And if I was running it, what's Joe Cardinelli doing with this? And if I didn't satisfy what I was, to them, what I was doing, I would get a phone call, say, boss wants to know why you're not doing this. And I would have that, and they would stay on top of it, but they would let me take my detectives and go out there, because they have the confidence in us to go out there and do the job the way we were taught to do it.
Right.
And the fact that it's going to get done, whether the commission is up in one PP or right in my office, I'm going to address that case the same way.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, that's how it's supposed to be done. When you have Sheriff Nanos calling the shots on every single detail, and then when something goes wrong or it doesn't look right, he points the fingers at the frontline troops. That's a big no-no. And the vote of confidence happened way before Nancy Guthrie went missing. So that's a big problem in this case. Let's listen to this. Looks like an adult gets interviewed out on the scene. I just want to hear what he has to say.
My heart goes out to the entire family, and just, we're all pulling for you. We're with you in your corner, as the signs say, and just keep positive, keep your chin up, and let's believe, and let's create the energy to make this happen, make her come back safe.
Very positive. These are community folks from the community, and you see the sheriffs were all over the property. The home was given back to the Guthrie family, I believe, as of today, Monday, But also we know from having Sergeant Cross from the Pima County Sheriff's, four detectives, one sergeant, no lieutenants, no other higher rank than a sergeant are now at the Tucson FBI office. This task force that he called it is now scaled back. The numbers were 400 combined investigators on this. We don't know what the numbers are from the FBI side, but really they now have managed to get this thing down to 4 detectives from Pima. That doesn't mean that those are the only ones working this case, but 4 from Pima County, a sergeant, and then the rest are going to be from the Fed side. I want to talk about the video, Joe. I don't know if you saw the piece from News Nation, but I watched it and I reached out to a certain friend of ours to try to get some confirmation. And basically, I did get a little bit of confirmatory response. I can't give up any names or anything like that because I don't want to do that. But let's listen to this report that just came out like 40 minutes ago from News Nation. I got to put the sound on, Joe.
You got it.
Hold on a second. Give me 2. All right, here we go.
Year-old Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie. Look at these photos. It appears that the masked suspect who was caught on Nancy Guthrie's front door camera went to her home before the night that she disappeared. These 2 photos of the suspect were taken on 2 different nights. That is according to sources who spoke with News Nation. You can see in the photo on the left, he's not wearing that backpack or the gun holster that he has in the front on the photo.
Like I said, Joe, I reached out to a certain individual that I feel very strongly about and asked this question. And I do believe it's confirmatory that this suspect, it's the same suspect, came back, was there on 2 separate occasions that we know of from this video. And that's big. That's big to get that.
That's huge.
That's huge. We'll talk about it at the end of this. Let's listen because we'll hear from our friend Brian Enton.
On the right, let's go right now to news. You can see in the photo on the left, he's not wearing that backpack or the gun holster that he has in the front on the photo on the right. Let's go right now to News Nation.
Looks like the same type of mask though, right, boss?
Mm-hmm. Everything.
It's Brian.
I'll tell you when we're done. I'll tell you what it is.
And live for us in Tucson. Brian, how did they get this second photo? Is this from the same Google search of the software from that front doorbell Nest camera?
Yeah, it appears to be from the same camera, Elizabeth, and this is something that has perplexed us for a while because the photos look different. Why was the suspect wearing the backpack? That was the first thing I noticed. Why was the suspect wearing the backpack in one photo, which you see there on the right, and not wearing the backpack in the photo on the left? And now we do have sources confirming to us the reason is because the photos were taken on different days. We know one of the photos is from the day that Nancy Guthrie was kidnapped, early morning hours of February 1st. When that other photo was taken, we do not know the day, but we know that it was not at the same time that the other photo was taken when Nancy was kidnapped. It was a previous day, which would indicate that the suspect.
What I'd love to see is this is a photo of a video. It's the same camera according to you look at the foliage, you could see here, when he moves forward in this video, you could see these where my cursor is, it's the same shot. I'd like to see this video instead of just a still. As we're seeing here, this is a still of a video that we know. There has to be a video of this second person because from that same device, we found out that Nest has onboard memory on those cameras of up to 45 minutes. So release this video of this second showing to see, because people are talking about, well, it looks like he's got a bigger belly there, but it could have just been the way the shot was. It could have just been the jacket was puffing forward. I'd like to see both videos side by side, and then I would really feel comfortable with making the analysis of whether it's the same guy or not. But let's listen to the rest of this.
Was at Nancy is from the day that Nancy Guthrie was kidnapped, early morning hours of February 1st. When that other photo was taken, we do not know the day, but we know that it was not at the same time that the other photo was taken when Nancy was kidnapped. It was a previous day, which would indicate that the suspect was at Nancy's house days before the kidnapping, Elizabeth.
That is chilling. All right, Brian Enton will have the very latest from Tucson. Thank you so much, Brian, for that breaking news update.
We have new developments this morning in the Nancy Guthrie case. There's renewed focus on images of the masked man caught on her doorbell camera right on her front porch. One of the suspect without a backpack, stirring questions over whether or not he may have shown up at her door days before her abduction on February 1st. News Nation national correspondent Nancy Liu is outside the Guthrie home in Tucson for us. Nancy, also have to mention right off the top, there's no confirmed timestamp on these images. So what are investigators saying about them?
Well, Marky, this new information about the suspect.
Again, this is from February, I believe, 23rd, about the new information, which is the cameras. I'm not going to let this whole thing roll because it's 17 minutes, but I think right up here, Joe, they show him moving. So let me just pause this. Yeah. So this is what I'd like to see from this second image on the left. The same, you see that
Right there.
The vegetation and the plants in this image right here. This is how you know, even though we don't see the arch that we see here, Joe, you see here, right? And as this thing moves forward and they show him on the move, you could see it. Those same pointy, the bushes in the front. I know I'm not saying it right, what it is, but let me go back to you on your thought that when we were discussing the images, you had your thought on that.
I have a lot of thoughts about this. If this individual was there before, I mean, I know with Ring, I know this is not Ring, this is Nest. I know with Ring, I could check the motion, I can check it immediately, check it 3 days before, but I don't know, I guess nobody's monitoring the cameras because if a masked individual comes up a few days before, I mean, that's something right there. But you know, it could be something else too. Maybe they're saying it happened. It's not the same images, but what if it was just prior to this, Ron? What if it was just prior to this? And then he went back and got the backpack and put it on. All right. And then just piecing them together. But for them to say that this was a separate day, then that's somebody who just came to see what they were up against, to see if the information they may have received about cameras and everything was true. And they came up to take a look around. We're not seeing the whole thing there, so we don't know. But to wear the same garb, and be dressed the same and just be minus the weapon and the backpack, that's pretty telling, And once again, I want to see the color images of this because I know they have the capability of doing that, So I really want to see the two together. And it could be that. Do you remember when we first saw this? When it first came out, this isn't new. They had this out there, and we thought people were playing around with it, removing the backpack and doing all that. Remember?
Right. Yeah. Because
it turns out that it was, and they were saying nobody was confirming that it was 2 separate days. Yeah. All right. But now that they're confirming it, you have to really look into it that this was planned.
Yeah.
The way somebody would expect it to be.
And we also have to realize that there's more that they have. There's more of this is a still image. I guarantee you there's a video of this guy here in this separate time, whether it was a separate time of day, whether it was a separate day. The bottom line is the investigators have it here. They chose to release seconds of video to get more eyes on it. But if I'm the investigator now, granted, I don't know all of the totality of everything that they have or don't have, but I'd want the public to see this second or first visit of the way he moves. And we could see if it's the same guy leaning forward. Does he have that same walk? Is he, his gait, is it the same as this first one that they released here? These are all things that, if you have a nothing burger and you don't really have a lot to go on, and you're still relying on the public or somebody who knows this guy, the more video you put out of him, the better. Like this, Joe, I had that chilling image that one of our viewers, who's a sketch artist, I won't say his or her name because they asked me to keep them anonymous. They didn't want to be, but they sent me that picture, that drawing. I sent it to the FBI hotline. I sent it to FBI.gov. And I said, if you need to contact me, this came from one of my viewers. It was a sketch. They never contacted me, but that's the right thing to do. If you have something that may be helpful, and it was a full. Did you see that thing that I
Yeah,
showed?
oh yeah, I saw it. I saw the two, and I put them side by side. I know where both of them came from, and I put them side by side. One's a little different than the other. There's a lot of similarities. All right, and your audience should know that they were unmasked.
Right.
It was with the mask off by people who know this very well. Ron, here's what's very important about this. We've been focusing, and investigators have been focusing on the day of her whereabouts, where she came from, what she was doing, and her last, time that they dropped her off and she went into the house, and the time frame for that. Now you have something that's days before that. So now they have to go back and see what Nancy was doing that day, what her whole day consisted of, now the whole week, what that consisted of, and then the days in between the first and second video. They have to go on that. So now they have more to put pieces together with. The fact that this individual, and it does appear to be the same individual, came there, is so comfortable that he comes back another day. I can come back. Why? How does he know that they're not going to pick him up on the family, if somebody's not monitoring this, and that they watch what's going on at mom's house, and that he has the luxury of coming back again?
Yeah, no, I hear you, brother. I'm with you on that. The bottom line is there's so much work to be done here that people are drawing conclusions because we're not really getting anything. There's no press conferences, no updates. They're not even, like you said before, they're not even letting the residents of Tucson know that, hey, look, we got this under control. They're just left to guess, and I think that's a little disheartening. We're never going to hear from the FBI. The only time, LT, that the FBI gives a press conferences is when they got a major development or some movement, right?
Yeah, well, we have the case the way, solved the way we want, and that, with prosecutions on the way, and that's people are getting prosecuted. We have the individuals in custody. They're going to keep doing their work behind, and that's why moving this to FBI headquarters is so crucial right now. Now they can piece everything together, because here's another thing. If they put us in the room and they said this does not leave this room, it doesn't leave the room. But when you're in a place that's never had this before, and you have everybody yapping away, and you have civilians as well that can hear things or do things, and somebody talks up, because they're very close to partner. I'm not saying everybody did this, but one or two loose lips may have gotten out the way they didn't want it to, and they said, no, we need to control this. So we're going to control it to 5 individuals, all right, and bring them in with us, and this is the way it's going to go, and we're going to release the information as we see fit. That could be very telling, that they're getting a lot of meat on some things, and they don't want it out there right now, and they're working the case the way they should be. Kudos to them. Kudos to the investigators that are over there with the investigative supervisor. Let them do their job.
I agree, boss, 100%. And if you noticed, our in duty, still active Sergeant Cross, when he came on with us, one of the things that he said that stood out to me right away is he said that I'm not even asking anybody that's involved in the case because I don't want anything to leak out. I don't want any information. So I caught on to that. And I love that he said that. He was like, I'm just choosing not to get information or ask information about it because it's so important to keep the case close to the vest. But here's the thing, what people have to understand, I'll put us full screen, and then we're going to talk about the tunnels that are being searched. There's so many different tunnels over in that Tucson area with water washes and transient people living underneath it. But this is what I hope and pray for. I hope and pray for the people, and I believe it's multiple people. It could be 1 or 2 or more. I hope that the people who are responsible for this talk to either their significant others, girlfriends, or friends of friends, and now those friends this is how a lot of cases get solved. You have $1.2 million on the table here. If these perps talked about this with somebody other than the 2 or 3 or whoever, it's one or more people. And if they talk to somebody outside of their circle, most of the times it happens with a girlfriend or a significant other, and they have an argument or a fight or something happens, or that significant other says, this guy is a loser. I don't want to, keep this secret. I want to get that $1 million. I'm going to turn them in. When the money's there, money draws people to turn other people in. And I say that because I know through experience that a lot of my cases that I had when I was working in the fugitive enforcement, this is the Detectives Endowment Association, not the Drug Enforcement Agency. This is the New York City Detectives Endowment Association shirt that I'm wearing. But when I was hunting people down in the Fugitive Enforcement Division, when there was a bounty on somebody's head, we used to get significant others to turn them in. They'd have a fight with them, or they'd have an argument, and they'd be like, screw you, I'm turning you in, and I'm going to get that money. That's what I'm hoping for here. And I think that's what law enforcement is hoping with. Let's take a listen to this about the tunnels. This is Brian Enton from News Nation.
Your national correspondent, Brian Enton, is on the story live from Tucson from the beginning. Okay, Brian, what about today, even over the weekend? What are we learning?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that it's now day 23. I can't quite wrap my mind around it. It's now been three weeks, but we're still here. We're in Tucson. There were searches that happened all weekend long. Connell, I wanted to show you actually one of the areas where these volunteer searchers came out this weekend. There's these underground tunnels in Tucson that I didn't know existed until people started to talk about them. And the search crews actually came in several of these this weekend just to look, because you think about there's only so many places that the law enforcement can go, but when these volunteers get involved, they can really spread out. And that's what they did. So they were in these tunnels. They searched pretty much this entire one. We'll lose service if we keep going, but we walked through the entire thing too. They actually found a backpack in this area.
So this was interesting because, Joe, this also shows how much, this is an older report, but I wanted to play it because it continually keeps coming back up. These tunnels, we don't know if law enforcement searched them. This is a media person going in there and walking through them. The United Cajun Navy was searching in them. Many men and women were walking through these tunnels looking for Nancy, looking for her remains. There's transient people that live down there. There's a lot of not great people that are down there, and it's dangerous. So there's just so much ground to cover. And when you look at all the leads and the investigative leads that they have to run down, it's just overwhelming when you think about it. And when they said they had 400 people on the case, I thought in my mind, yeah, you could really, take teams and have them go out and clear areas. But there's just so much there. Your thoughts on that?
If they would have done the grid search that we had suggested from the beginning and break it down, to extend the possibilities of where she was, you would come across these tunnels. And I'm sure law enforcement is aware of it. I mean, look at the graffiti on the walls over there. It tells you a lot. We read graffiti in New York. You know that. So if then that's something they should have addressed back then. But we don't know. Maybe they did send somebody down there. We don't know. It could be documented. But the fact that Brian's once again reporting on something that nobody saw before, we should have him on the case. So.
Yeah, and you look at all the different white boys, something lives forever, like those. So all things, those all things that have to get looked at. And you look at certain aspects of this investigation. It's not as small as what people think. I want to play quickly before we wrap it up, because I want to take some questions from the audience. Brian uploaded a YouTube short, and it's long. It's a YouTube short, but it's over 2.5 minutes. He was, I guess, right there when the family came out. And I just want to play this because it's in the entirety. News Nation cut it off. But this is Brian Enton from beginning to end. And again, Joe, many people, even here in our chat, are saying, it feels staged. It feels like this is not like real. And people pointing fingers at here, Tommaso. This is Annie's husband here with them, and he is leaning over because the girls are leaning over, so he's leaning with them. But people I've seen in the chat, live chat, and in many other chats, compare the way he stands and the way he walks to the video guy. We're going to always get stuff like that, that's just how it is.
I would reserve on that. I'm going to tell you, because body language, we deal with body language a lot as well. And body language tells me that if Savannah thought anything like that or had any suspicion of that, she put the hands on him.
Yes, right.
2 times and rubbed his back and everything. So that's got to lead to something as well. And I'm sure they scrutinized him and Annie because they were the last ones to see her. Are they off? I mean, according to the sheriff, they're cleared. All right. But like I said, everything is still on the table because you never know if all of a sudden they're going to turn around and get something that comes out and they go, oh my God, look at this. It points to right here.
Right.
You understand? So you don't eliminate people, but you don't outright accuse people either.
Right. Look, Joe, I'm just pointing it out. I'm not
talking about you. I'm not talking about you.
I know you
I'm
aren't.
talking about people on the news that have outright accused him.
Yeah. Right? And it's ugly because, everybody has the right to free speech, right? Everybody can see whatever they want. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's proper to allow, if in fact it is somebody that's within the family, allow the FBI, the competent authorities, to determine and weed through, instead of pointing fingers and saying, oh, look at his ring, look at the way he's standing, look at this, look at that. And, look, they went after the band member. They're going after, some people sent me emails and saying that they think it's Annie and the husband in together. Like, I don't subscribe into that. And I know Ashley Banfield accused early and said she had sources that they were looking at the son-in-law, Tommaso.
That's kind of broad, though. I mean, what are the sources? Typical investigation. Of course, we're looking into the brother-in-law. You're looking into everybody. You're looking into the whole family. All right. You're not looking just into this part of the family. You're looking into the brother. And it's a good question. Where is the brother today? Maybe he said he can't handle it. Maybe they had a falling out about the way he didn't want to do this. And he said, well, I'm not doing it. If you want to do it, you could do it. You don't know what it is. But it doesn't mean that they're a defunct family, that they don't, you got to just let the evidence take you to where it has. Ed said it a million times. Let the evidence take you where it has to go and work off of that. Because right now, everything is speculation to a degree. Right. All right. And it's because nothing is put out there concrete, other than we have this individual now, they're saying in 2 different times. And let me tell you something, that is very telling. The fact that they have this from a few days earlier. That's somebody very comfortable with coming there, knowing what they have to look for, knowing what they're going to be coming back to.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I mean, look, as we know, nobody should be pointing fingers at anybody, especially if we don't have any evidence of it. If we're just saying, oh, he seems suspicious, or this one seems like, this is work for the on-duty detectives and FBI. My confidence is with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. These men and women know what they're doing as it pertains to breaking down electronic surveillance. They're going to look through phone records. You can't pull something like this off without some planning. So if there was something from within or somebody that knows the family, they're going to pull their electronic communication. And no matter how you delete things, as we all know, deleting doesn't go away. And I don't care about like Banfield 40 years and people are saying in the chat, she's a reliable source. That's hogwash. Banfield has done this many times where she's gone after people, and Ed and I have called her out on it. I think it's irresponsible. It's bad reporting, and you don't go, even if you have a sources, like, you got to stick to the code. And the code of ethics doesn't say that you should be pointing fingers at somebody within a family, especially since law enforcement aren't even saying that they're on their radar. And I'll call out shit when I see it every day. And that's shit. That's shit reporting, and I don't like it one bit.
No, and Ron, let's go a step further with that.
If you don't like that I've said that, then I'm not for you, and you're not for me. And I'll say that till till the sun goes down. I do not believe in slandering people when you don't have concrete evidence.
That's right.
And it's a disgusting, despicable thing that human nature sometimes takes over and does that stuff. You'll never see me do that unless there is very concrete evidence of that, and it's disgusting. Go ahead, boss.
This, you know what the funny part is? I see all these people that were out there and so-called investigators, that they were in the FBI or they were in one police plaza and they rose through the ranks to get to this position and everything. All right, but none of them really worked a case to this degree from the ground up. Because if they did, when they say, well, my sources tell me, and that always cracks me up, because they could have a janitor that said, hey, you know what I heard, and that becomes a source. But when they say they have it from within the police department, unless you're there, I've never seen so many reporters have so many connections in police departments all around the United States where they have a source in every department, right? Sometimes it's a bunch of crap, and they source it by just talking to somebody, or a tip comes in and they give their opinion about a tip, and that's their source. A thing that came in. You know what? And like you said, you're playing with people's lives here, all right, in more ways than one, all right? So for you to outright accuse somebody, you better be damn sure that that's the case right there, because later on, you're liable.
Yeah. 100%. And that's the thing, is like, if you don't have access to case files and you don't know what's going on, there's no place for it to start pointing fingers. Think about if the shoe was on the other foot and someone was to say something like that about you, and especially when your family member is missing. Your family member is missing and presumed dead. It's not a good look. And,
no.
And at the end of the day, look, I said in the beginning of this that he resembles Stephen Stearns, and I was just saying it because I feel like he looks like him. It was just a coincidence that I quickly saw that as I was playing this for you guys. I'm not saying that makes him the perp, that he is the one who abducted Nancy, his mother-in-law. I'm just saying that there's a striking resemblance between the two. And if you look at the photos, go and Google Stephen Stearns and look at his face. It's an uncanny resemblance.
And didn't they put that up there like it was him, Stephen Stearns' photo, and there was a photo in the orange jumpsuit.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
and they put it up there like it was him, and it just leads to the speculation, and it just complicates things. The bottom line is, and you've said it, I've said it, and I'll continue to say it, and you will, and so will Ed. Let them do their job and get to the bottom of this with the concrete evidence, with the things that are going to lead to, something being solved in this case. All right. And let them do their job,
Yes, absolutely. Somebody here in the chat says, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. My grandmother used to say that to me all the time. God rest her soul. Opinions is fine, but not stating it as fact. And that's the thing. So there was just so much bad reporting as it pertains to this stuff. Look at TMZ. I mean, to me, if I even stumble across that channel, I just get rid of it, So it's whew. I mean, to me, it's just in bad taste, especially when you see and you hear this grieving family here. I chose to put the audio down so we could talk a little bit, but when you hear the cries and the weeping and the sadness and sorrow, it's just really, it's a bad look. So let's wrap it up, Joe. Unfortunately, it's over a month now. We're going into a month and a day that Nancy Guthrie was reported missing by her family. No new leads, no press conferences, nothing to go on. But because it's silent doesn't mean that things aren't happening. And I'll let you take it because, and you can expand on that because you've been on many cases where it's been silent and then boom, it happens.
I'm glad there's nothing out there right now for the press to, feed off of people on, who supposed investigators are out there giving their opinion about it. Let the real investigators who are doing it right now go behind the scenes, do what they're doing in this task force where it can be kept closer to the vest and let the evidence pan out for them, because they're going to start tracking down leads without the undue pressure of the sheriff coming in and saying, what is going on with this? Every 2 minutes walking in, what do we got here? What do we got here? He says he doesn't do it, but he has people doing it for him. So it's a controlled environment. I think this is great.
Yeah, 100%. So I have a couple of things I want to highlight. And this OC Girl 2025 says, if this was a Black or Hispanic famous person gone missing, people wouldn't be so sympathetic to the family. It's true. This rich white family, people can't even say anything. I mean, look, I disagree because with our coverage, people who are here a long time, and those of you who have been here for many, many years know we cover it all. I made a point to say that because Savannah Guthrie is a news media sensation, her family got the extra coverage because the news is covering a fellow newscaster's family tragedy. And these news outlets aren't going easy. Like, look, we just broke it down for you. They're even her own news station, News 4, Channel 4, the morning show. They're using the story and they're talking about it. But like I said, if it was little old me or you, Joe, or anybody that's in this chat, there would be nobody camped out in front of our house saying, where did DutyRon go? Where did Lieutenant Joe go? Yeah, we would have police department retirees and brothers in blue, but there would be no news reporters because it wouldn't be newsworthy. It wouldn't get them the rating. So
I can tell you one thing, and you and I discussed this particular case, and I have to disagree with that, because up in the Bronx with Jessica Guzman, when she was missing, all right, I could tell you point blank, I was a sergeant at the time, and I was crawling underneath housing projects in areas I never knew existed, all right, in crawl spaces that were really creepy. And my guys and I were underneath there looking to see if anybody could put somebody there. We go above and beyond for anybody who needs it. All right. And the kids, the missing children take a priority, but I wouldn't care if you were black, white, purple, anything. All right. The only difference here is what you just mentioned. It gets the attention because there's a celebrity, but the work behind the scenes by the cops is the same. All right. If not, it's even better at times because they don't have the pressure of the higher ups getting on them and they're able to do their jobs the way they want to.
Yeah.
So don't think because it's of race or anything else that we don't go out there and say, oh, it's just another missing so-and-so, black, white, whatever, some poor white kid or something. We don't think like that. We think it's a person.
The news media drives the narrative and the coverage. That's a fact. That's a fact. Right. So if that, that question could be probably posed at news media, but here, those people that know me for a long time, it doesn't matter what the person's race or background is, I cover it all. Kitty Mac, thank you for being a channel member and thank you for always blasting questions our way. I love that. She says, do walkie-talkies leave tech evidence behind like phones? Negative. No, it does not. Unfortunately, they do not. There's no memory in walkie-talkies. You just press and the transmission goes and then it receives whoever receives it and then it's gone. There's no tattoo of it like a cell phone. So no. Holly Golightly, yes, we covered the West Boys extensively. We also covered the murder of Robert Brooks, who was murdered up in upstate New York in Marcy Correctional Facility. I spent over 3 months covering exclusively the murder of Robert Brooks, a black inmate who was murdered by multiple white correction officers. And I spent over 2 months on this channel covering that case. And then
you got a lot of hate mail for that too.
I got a ton of hate mail and I lost police and correction friends because of it. And I don't give a shit because those weren't really friends, in my opinion. If you don't like that I'm covering something that's a tragedy and that is racially motivated, these white guys surrounded this guy and beat him to death on camera. I covered that and I have no qualms about it. I'll do that every time. And anytime that happens. So anyways, Joe, I want to thank you for being here. Hang out, don't leave because I want to set you up with that camera that I got you. I want to see if we can get that working. So stay in the studio. We're going to end this on prayers, strength, and positive vibes to the Guthrie family, to the investigators, to everybody that's out there in that Tucson area that's affected by this. That's the residents, that's the community, that is all the people who are down on the ground. So I want to thank the replay viewers, the new chatters, the super chatters, the folks who live cups of coffee at the end of our streams. Our moderators are second to none. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for loving this community. Ed will be back soon. He's got a couple of things brewing, but we will have our beloved Ed Wallace back. He got so many birthday wishes yesterday from everybody. Thank you for that. My scans went good. I'm going to meet with my oncologist tomorrow and get all of the results and hear it from the doctors. I went for a thyroid scan, sonogram today at Sloan Kettering, and I'm going to get the results of that soon. So love and respect from DutyRon. Thank you for joining, Joe. Thank you for being here, boss. I appreciate
Anytime, my friend.
you. All right, hang tight.